The world explodes with color, a vibrant tapestry woven into the fabric of our perception. From the lush green of a summer forest to the fiery hues of a setting sun, color enriches our experiences and shapes our understanding of the world. But what if this kaleidoscope of colors exists not as an objective truth, but as a subjective creation of our own minds? What if the red you see is not the same red I see? Color, as we perceive it, is not an inherent property of the physical world. Rather, it is a product of our brains, a sensory experience generated by our neural machinery in response to the different wavelengths of light reflected by objects. When light enters our eyes, it stimulates photoreceptor cells in the retina called cones, which are sensitive to different ranges of wavelengths. These cones send signals to the brain, where they are processed and interpreted as colors. This intricate process highlights the subjective nature of color perception. The colors we see are not simply out there in the world, but are actively constructed by our brains, based on the information received from our senses. This raises intriguing questions about the nature of reality and the limits of our perception. Our experience of color is influenced by a complex interplay of factors, including the properties of light, the structure of our eyes, and the intricate workings of our brains. The human eye can distinguish millions of different colors, each corresponding to a unique combination of wavelengths and intensities of light. This remarkable ability allows us to appreciate the nuances of our visual environment and to navigate the world with remarkable precision. The perception of color begins with the absorption of light by photoreceptor cells in the retina. These cells, called cones, contain light-sensitive pigments that react differently to different wavelengths of light. There are 3 types of cones, each sensitive to a different range of wavelengths, corresponding roughly to red, green, and blue light. When light strikes the retina, these cones send signals to the brain via the optic nerve. The brain then processes these signals, comparing the relative activity of the different cone types to determine the color of the light. This process is influenced by a variety of factors, including the intensity of the light, the surrounding colors, and our past experiences. For example, a red apple will appear brighter in bright sunlight than in dim light, and its perceived redness may be influenced by the colors of nearby objects. Our brains are constantly adapting to the visual environment, adjusting our color perception based on the context in which colors are perceived. This dynamic process allows us to perceive colors consistently across a wide range of lighting conditions and to make sense of the visual world around us. While we share a common physiological framework for color vision, individual differences in perception can arise from variations in the structure and function of our eyes and brains. These variations can lead to subtle differences in the way we perceive and categorize colors, resulting in a spectrum of unique color experiences. One source of variation lies in the sensitivity of our cone cells. The number and distribution of cones can vary slightly from person to person, leading to differences in color sensitivity. For example, some individuals may be more sensitive to certain wavelengths of light, resulting in a heightened perception of certain colors. Further variations can arise from differences in the neural pathways that process color information in the brain. The way our brains interpret and assign meaning to color signals can be influenced by factors such as genetics, experience, and cultural background. These differences can manifest as subtle variations in color perception, such as the ability to discriminate between closely related hues or the tendency to perceive certain colors as more vibrant or muted. These individual variations in color perception highlight the subjective nature of our visual experiences. While we may use the same language to describe colors, our internal experiences of those colors may differ subtly, shaping our unique perspectives on the world. Color blindness, a condition that affects the ability to perceive certain colors, provides further insight into the complexities of color vision. Color blindness arises from deficiencies in the cone cells or in the neural pathways that process color information, leading to an inability to distinguish between certain colors. The most common type of color blindness is red-green color blindness, which affects the ability to distinguish between shades of red and green. This condition is typically inherited and is more prevalent in males than females. Other, rarer forms of color blindness can affect the perception of blue and yellow hues, or, in extreme cases, result in complete color blindness, where the world is perceived in shades of gray. Color blindness underscores the crucial role of our visual system in constructing our perception of color. It demonstrates that color is not an inherent property of objects, but rather a product of our brain's interpretation of light signals. Understanding the mechanisms underlying color blindness has provided valuable insights into the normal functioning of color vision and has led to the development of tools and technologies to assist individuals with color vision deficiencies. The subjective nature of color perception raises profound philosophical questions about the nature of consciousness and the relationship between our inner experiences and the external world. The concept of qualia, referring to the subjective qualitative experiences of consciousness, lies at the heart of this philosophical inquiry. Qualia encompass the subjective feel of our experiences, the raw sensations and feelings that accompany our perceptions, thoughts, and emotions. In the context of color perception, qualia refer to the ineffable experience of seeing red or feeling the blueness of the sky. These subjective experiences are difficult to define or convey to others, as they are inherently personal and private. The existence of qualia poses a challenge to traditional materialist views of consciousness, which attempt to explain all mental phenomena in terms of physical processes in the brain. If our experiences are reducible to neural activity, then how can we account for the subjective qualitative feel of these experiences? How can we explain what it is like to experience the world in full color? The challenge of explaining qualia, often referred to as the hard problem of consciousness, has spurred ongoing debate among philosophers and scientists about the nature of consciousness and the relationship between the mind and the body. The difficulty in conveying the subjective experience of color highlights a fundamental challenge in understanding consciousness, the explanatory gap. This gap refers to the chasm that exists between our objective descriptions of brain states and our subjective experiences of those states. We can study the neural correlates of color perception, mapping out the brain regions and pathways involved in processing color information. We can identify the specific neurons that fire when we see red or blue, and we can measure the electrical activity in these brain regions. However, these objective descriptions fail to capture the subjective, qualitative experience of seeing red or feeling the blueness of the sky. This explanatory gap raises profound questions about the limits of scientific inquiry and the nature of subjective experience. Can we ever hope to fully bridge this gap to understand how physical processes in the brain give rise to the richness and complexity of our conscious experiences? Or is there something fundamentally ineffable about consciousness, something that eludes scientific explanation? The realization that our perceptions of color, and indeed all of our sensory experiences, are subjective constructions has profound implications for how we understand ourselves and our place in the world. It challenges us to acknowledge the diversity of human experience and to recognize that our individual perspectives, shaped by our unique biology and life experiences, contribute to the richness and complexity of the human tapestry. Recognizing the subjective nature of perception fosters empathy and understanding. It encourages us to approach others with curiosity and openness, appreciating that their experiences of the world may differ from our own. This awareness can help bridge divides, foster tolerance, and promote meaningful connections between individuals with diverse backgrounds and perspectives. It also invites us to question our assumptions about the nature of reality. If our perceptions are subjective constructions, then what does it mean for something to be real? Does reality exist independently of our minds, or is it, in some sense, shaped by our perceptions? These questions have occupied philosophers for centuries and continue to spark debate and inquiry today. The exploration of color perception reveals the remarkable adaptability and plasticity of the human brain. Our brains are not passive receivers of information but active interpreters, constantly constructing and reconstructing our perceptual experiences based on the information available. This dynamic process allows us to adapt to changing environments, to learn from our experiences, and to make sense of a complex and ever-changing world. The subjectivity of color perception highlights the importance of context in shaping our understanding. Colors do not exist in isolation, but are perceived in relation to other colors, shapes, and patterns. Our brains rely on this contextual information to make sense of visual scenes, to identify objects, and to navigate our surroundings. This interplay between perception and cognition underscores the interconnectedness of our mental faculties. Our perceptions are not simply raw sensory data, but are shaped by our prior knowledge, expectations, and beliefs. This dynamic interplay between sensation, perception, and cognition highlights the complexity and sophistication of the human mind. The recognition that our perceptions of color are shaped by our individual biology, experiences, and cultural backgrounds underscores the richness and diversity of human experience. Our unique perspectives, far from being a source of division, contribute to the vibrancy and complexity of the human tapestry. Embracing our individual differences in perception allows us to appreciate the world through a multitude of lenses. It encourages us to question our assumptions, to challenge our perspectives, and to engage in meaningful dialogue with those who see the world differently than we do. By acknowledging the subjective nature of our experiences, we open ourselves up to new possibilities, new ways of seeing, and new ways of being. We begin to appreciate the beauty in diversity, the wonder in the unknown, and the infinite potential of the human mind. The exploration of color perception leads us on a fascinating journey into the heart of human experience, revealing the complex interplay between the physical world, our sensory systems, and the intricate workings of our brains. We discover that color, far from being an objective truth, is a subjective creation, a testament to the remarkable adaptability and plasticity of the human mind. This realization has profound implications for how we understand ourselves and our place in the world. It challenges us to embrace the diversity of human experience, to appreciate the unique perspectives that each individual brings to the table, and to recognize that our individual realities, woven together, create a rich and multifaceted tapestry of human perception. As we continue to explore the mysteries of the mind, we can marvel at the ingenuity of our perceptual systems, the elegance of our neural machinery, and the boundless capacity of the human spirit to find meaning and beauty in a world painted with the colors of our own creation.